Have you ever met someone who barely says anything, but somehow notices every small change in the room before everyone else does? Maybe they notice tension before an argument starts. Maybe they instantly sense when someone's mood changes. Or maybe they remember tiny details about people that everyone else completely missed. Quiet people are often misunderstood as passive, shy, or disconnected. But psychologically, many quiet people are actually doing the opposite. They're paying attention constantly. And the reason they notice so much has less to do with intelligence and more to do with how their brains process the world around them. Most people enter social situations focused on expression. They're thinking about what to say next, how they sound, how they're being perceived, or how to keep the conversation moving. Quiet people often focus on observation instead. While others are talking, they're studying. They notice facial expressions, tone shifts, awkward pauses, fake laughter, nervous habits, small emotional reactions most people overlook completely. And over time, this creates an unusual ability to read people extremely well. Psychologists have studied this difference for decades. One major theory comes from psychologist Hans Eysenck, who believed introverted people naturally experience higher levels of internal stimulation. In simple terms, their brains react more strongly to external environments. Because of this, quiet people often process social situations more deeply instead of constantly seeking more stimulation. This deeper processing creates something interesting. The less energy someone spends performing socially, the more energy they may have available for noticing patterns. That's why quiet people often remember strange little details. Who got interrupted the most? Who sounded uncomfortable? Who smiled differently after a certain comment? They're constantly collecting social information in the background, and many of them don't even realize they're doing it. But observation doesn't only come from personality. Sometimes it develops from experience. Many quiet people became observant because they learned early that speaking carelessly could lead to embarrassment, criticism, rejection, or conflict. So instead of reacting immediately, they learned to scan environments first. Who feels safe here? Who seems judgmental? What mood is everyone in? What kind of behavior gets accepted? Psychologists sometimes refer to this as social scanning, automatically reading emotional environments before fully participating in them. And the more someone practices this, the better they become at detecting subtle emotional signals. But there's also a downside to noticing everything, because highly observant people rarely stop processing information. A quiet person in a group conversation may be noticing dozens of things simultaneously. Changes in voice tone, body language, emotional tension, awkward silences, hidden insecurity, fake confidence, social hierarchy, discomfort. And eventually, all of that becomes mentally exhausting. This is one reason many quiet people feel drained after social interaction, even when nothing bad happened. Their brains were working the entire time. Research on highly sensitive people shows something similar. Some individuals naturally process emotional and sensory information more deeply than others. They absorb more details from their environment, which can increase empathy and awareness, but also overstimulation. That's why some quiet people need long periods alone afterward. Their minds are still replaying everything they noticed. And sometimes, being observant can become isolating, because once you start seeing emotional contradictions clearly, social interactions begin to feel different. You notice when someone is pretending to be confident. You notice forced friendliness. You notice when someone says, "I'm fine," while clearly not being fine. And one difficult truth about human behavior is that most people don't actually want every emotion noticed. Social life depends heavily on performance. People hide insecurity constantly. They mask jealousy, loneliness, resentment, anxiety, and fear behind socially acceptable behavior. Quiet people often see through those performances faster than others do. And ironically, this can make them feel disconnected from people around them because they spend so much time understanding others, while feeling misunderstood themselves. People often assume silence means there's less going on internally. But many quiet individuals have extremely active internal worlds. They analyze conversations afterward, reflect deeply on behavior patterns, and constantly search for meaning beneath surface interaction. This is also why many observant people become interested in psychology, writing, philosophy, or storytelling. Their minds naturally focus on hidden emotional structure. But there's something important to understand here. Not all observation is healthy. Sometimes hyper-awareness comes from anxiety, not insight. There's a big psychological difference between calmly noticing details and constantly scanning for danger or rejection. Healthy observation feels curious. Anxious observation feels tense. And many quiet people move between those two states depending on the environment they're in. Around emotionally safe people, their awareness becomes thoughtful and emotionally intelligent. Around unsafe or judgmental people, that same awareness can turn into exhausting overthinking. Still, in a world filled with noise, constant talking, and endless distraction, the ability to quietly observe has become surprisingly rare. Quiet people often understand emotional dynamics deeply because they spend more time paying attention than trying to control attention. And sometimes the people saying the least are actually noticing the most.